Okay, so I've cleaned this up a bit, and I'm just going to group this. I'm going to call it jump. And right now I haven't assigned any colors to these, but I might go ahead and do that now. So jump's going to be red, and I will come up here, and this horizontal motion is going to be green. Okay, just a little bit easier to see. All right, so I've got my jump, and I've got my horizontal motion. So what's the next step? So let's go ahead and make the camera move with Bob, and then we will be done with this section of the tutorial. So to get the camera to move with Bob, we're going to select our camera. We're going to click on Add Component, and we're going to go to Bolt, and we're going to make a flow machine. And because Bob is not a prefab, and we want to be able to access Bob's transform, we could either create a variable to hold Bob's transform, or we can just go ahead and say, and make a change, and make this an embed. And so that's the question, whether we want to do one or the other. I'm going to go ahead and make it an embed, and then I'm just going to go ahead, and I don't need, actually on the start, maybe I'll update it, and then we can, although really it doesn't, we'll see how it plays out. I'm going to leave the start in there, but really we just need the update. And what we want to do is we just want to say, well, I want to take the X and Y value of Bob and apply them to the camera. I don't want to mess with the Z direction at all, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, I'm going to say add unit. I'm going to say get transform. And I spelled that wrong, so I'm just going to type in transform, and then get should be, of course it's not right there. Oh, and it's really position, so transform.position.get. So I'm going to need that. And I don't want this to be self, I want this to be Bobby, my character. And then I'm going to need to set a transform. So I'm going to say transform.position.set. There we go. And that is going to be self, right? That is going to be the camera. So, but the other thing I'm going to need to do is I need to split this apart, because I don't want to, you'll note that my camera does have a Z position. It's at -10. And if I was to just directly connect these two, right, Bob's Z position is 0, so the camera is just going to is not going to be looking at the scene anymore. It's basically going to be looking through the scene. And that's not what we want to have happen. So we're going to need to split this out so that we can just get Bob's X and Y position. So let's go ahead and just say, right, if we just type in get at this point, when I have this line connected, I just want to get vector3 get X, and then come down here and I can do get one more time and vector3 get Y. And then I can either, for the Z here, I could set it to 10, but what I really need to do is then recombine these, right, into a vector that has Z as set to 10. So I'm going to click on add unit, and I'm going to say new vector3 XYZ, and then I'm going to set Z to 10, and I'm just going to plug Y into Y, X into X, and then update is going to run into there and into my position of this object. So let's go ahead and see if our camera will follow Bob at this point. Okay, so for some reason, I am getting the right X and Y, right? If I move Bob, my camera's moving. But, and even though my Z is still set to 10, something is wrong, right? I'm not seeing what I should be seeing. So let's go to our scene. And if I actually pop this into 3D view, you'll see that I think I actually put the camera on the wrong side of the plane. I think this should be -10. So let's go ahead and stop this. And yes, Z should be -10. So this is one of the things where having 3D view, right, makes a huge difference, because I can, right, I can figure out and use it as a way to debug issues. And so let's put a negative sign in front of this 10. And then let's go ahead and run this again and see if we have better success this time. Okay, so there's Bob, and the camera is now following him as he hops around the scene. Right? And I wish he would go a little faster and stuff. Okay, so camera's following him. This is fantastic. So now what I'd like to do is show you just one other physics 2D thing, and we will end this tutorial. Okay, so we're going to select this ramp, and we want this to basically shoot Bob up off into space when he hits this, right? Like kind of like conveyor belts or speed ups or other things like that. And so what we can do is we come down here and we click on Add Component. We go to Physics 2D, and we want the surface effector. And you'll see it looks like, if you look at the icon, it looks like a conveyor belt. You also note that there's like sliders and wheel joints and all sorts of stuff. But we're going to use this, and let's set the speed to, let's just set it to 1 to start with, and then we will we will see what happens when we apply this. Okay, so I've got this applied. Now there's an issue here where I have this warning and it says, I can zoom in on this maybe. There we go. This effector will not function until there is at least one enabled 2D collider with used by effector check marked on this object. So then what that means is we need to go up to our collider. Oh, and here's our box collider, and we need to check mark used by effector. We're going to pull this back out. And then I know the speed is going to be too low, so let's just go ahead and set this to 200. Because that should tell us if it's working or not. And so here we go. And I have launched, I'm not sure where in the world I am. Oh, there I go, bouncing off of that again. Right, so you can see that I touch that thing and I catapult more vertical than horizontal, right? Let's go ahead and use a lower force. Let's make it 20 instead. And let's go ahead and run this again. Okay, so now I can come over here and you can see that, right, it pushed me way off over there, and actually kept moving even after that. So I'm gonna, kind of fly back over here. You'll see it's not really doing it on this edge, but it might speed me up on the other side. So let's go ahead and stop that, right? So you can see that, right, I can set that speed. There's a couple other options here. You can have some variation, so it's not always going at a constant speed. And then you can also scale that force. And if you ever have any more questions, you just click on the little help sign here. It pops up this, and it tells you, what these different things do.